Well, hello there. It is Saturday before Christmas. It's probably going to be my last big hike for the year. I'll be able to finish my challenge out doing some shorter hikes next week. But and for my last big one, I figured I'd come up to an iconic place again. So I have ventured north to Amicalola Falls State Park. My intent had been to be doing the lower approach trail and then continue on doing the loop up to the Len Foote Hike Inn and then back down the upper approach trail. But the lower approach trail is apparently closed for construction right now for a few months. Did not realize that ahead of time. So I'm taking the west rim approach over to the falls viewing site. Still get to deal with all the steps, so looking forward to that challenge to kick my day off, and hopefully a nice view of the falls, and we'll see how they're running. I can already hear them up ahead, and we'll see what this day holds. Okay, I have split off from the approach trail and am now on the Len Foote Hike Inn trail. So I just passed the sign, said I had 4.6 miles to the inn. So we'll see how we do with that. Gives me a chance to compare that to my trackers to see how accurate their recording distance. Made it up the steps from the viewing platform of the falls there to the top of the falls. I can verify that the signage is accurate. 425 steps. You know, it was a bit of an effort, but felt proud of how I accomplished it fairly smoothly. You know, a couple of stops to catch my breath along the way, but basically just kept going and still felt ready to continue on when I got to the top. Fair number of people out here today, all over the trail. I've seen people of all different levels of activity, from those kitted out with a full load for section or through hiking, those like myself more geared towards a significant day hike, and then families and groups out here just on a more casual basis, not really carrying any gear, maybe a water bottle at most, and probably just exploring the areas around the falls and the lodge. Hopefully nothing more strenuous than that, because I'd hate for them to get out here and get dehydrated in the elevation. One thing to note I did want to mention, when I was down by the visitor center, I took the opportunity to go over and take a look at the stone arch, which is kind of one of the traditional starting points for those doing an Appalachian Trail northbound hike. It's not the the start of the trail itself, obviously, since that's at the top of Springer Mountain, but it's where a lot of hikers kind of kick off their hike. And there seemed to be something significant happening today. There was a bunch of signage up and a small crowd starting to gather. It appears as though someone, I think the name was Billy, is concluding a major achievement today. Based on what I could tell on the signage, he is completing his calendar year triple crown, which means he has done the Pacific Crest Trail, the Continental Divide Trail, and now the Appalachian Trail, all within the space of one calendar year. I may have aspirations of doing a thru hike, and depending upon how life turns out, you know, potentially more than one, but I do not see it in my future to attempt anything as epic as the calendar year triple crown. And I have mad respect for anyone who has both the opportunity and the capability to achieve that. Well, I'm a little ways over halfway up to the inn. Seen several groups coming back down the trail from the direction of the inn. Don't know whether they were ones who had stayed there overnight and were making their way down today, or if they had just gotten out much earlier than I and were on the back half of their day hike. But I did just a little bit ago pass one father, son, and dog combo out hiking up the trail with me. I was going a little bit better pace than they, and stopped for a brief conversation before continuing on past them. They were asking me if it was unseasonably warm for Georgia up here today. And I would say it didn't start that way. It was freezing temperatures when I left the house this morning, but it has definitely warmed up. I didn't bother even with the fleece when I started out today on the hike, though I do have it with me. And yeah, I think just with the dry air we've got right now, we're getting some pretty good temperature swings during the day, and it's, I think, supposed to warm up to maybe the low 60s by afternoon, or at least back home. It may be a little bit cooler up here further north and higher elevation. But he was talking about comparing to, he was up here hiking last year this time, and he was dealing with single digits and the falls being all frozen up back then. And while that was pretty and all, he appreciated the difference. Him and his son were both in shorts today. So yeah, it's definitely not Florida weather, but it is warm for this time of year, and makes for great hiking. Getting closer to the inn. I've probably got somewhere around half a mile or so to go. I've reached the section of the trail which is got the sequence of dual planks here as a walkway over what is a frequently wet and marshy area. I would expect it was that way when I was here back in the spring, and you know, not quite as much now with the dry weather we've had of late, but still, you know, glad for the trail maintainers that have ways such as this in place to make for easier and more comfortable trekking up to the inn. Well, I'm done with the inn. Did a good little rest there. Had a snack, used their facilities. Had a good conversation with the gentleman running the place today. Getting a little bit insight into the operation and how their business has been doing. Sounds like they're doing okay. And it's a great setup. Got some great views there. Yeah, I'll have to actually come do a stay there one of these days. Maybe see if I can convince my wife to join me on that. But yeah, continuing on now, still on the Len Foote Hike Inn trail, connecting over to the Appalachian Approach Trail before making my way back down to Amicalola. Well, I'm on the Appalachian Trail Approach Trail, heading southbound towards Amicalola, trying to keep the sun out of the camera. But yeah, when I got to the trail, I actually went north for a little while, just to see some of the approach trail I hadn't covered previously. So I did a little over a quarter mile northbound from the junction point where the Len Foote Hike Inn trail met up with the approach trail. Made it up to the campgrounds on the peak just before Nimblewheel Gap, and then didn't feel like doing the descent and then reascent back down and returning from Nimblewheel, so I turned around, continued my way southbound. I just passed the campsite on top of Frosty Mountain, and yeah, it's still a great day out here. I got the sun in my eyes a bit heading this direction, but it's still all good. That's why I wear a hat and glasses that will shade me a little. Still making my way down the approach trail, getting closer to where I meet back up to the junction point where the Len Foote Inn hike trail split off. Haven't done a whole lot of filming, mainly because it's downhill, and as you can see, there's a lot of leaf cover, so I've been having to be very careful of my footing as I go, and didn't want to distract myself and get into a situation. But figured I'd let you guys know how I'm doing. As predicted, it's been a much quieter hike this side of the loop. I passed one set of two guys off to the side of the trail that looked like they were setting up camp, and they're gonna camp for the night. And then I passed another couple that is out for a short afternoon loop hike. So other than that, it's just been me and my thoughts. All right, well, as you saw, I've come back down the stairs. Finished my hike. I'm on my way back to the parking lot. So I'm going to go ahead and close it out here. It's been a great day out. I've got some good distance towards my goal. Thank you for coming along with me. Merry Christmas to everyone, and we will see you on the next trail.